So excited to be here. If you're watching the replay, thank you for being here. My name is Carlie Wall. This is Francesco Amati, and this is our first episode of the Twin Flame Hour. So tonight we're going to talk about just the origin and the essence, the overall energy of the twin flame and what that means. Francesco, would you like to start us off with that?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thanks, Carlie. I'm really excited. We've been live before, but this is our first time here on YouTube, one of many. We hope that through what we share from our own direct experience, our knowledge, that it will bring more clarity and direction to your twin flame and spiritual journey. So, to answer your question, Carlie, you asked what the origin and the essence of twin flames really is, what this concept is about, and if they even exist to begin with.
Right.
Twin flames is a very old concept. Okay. It's not the same as soulmate. Okay? A twin flame is essentially the mirrored soul that is basically like two sides of the same coin. Think of it that analogy. If you were to experience yourself in another being, you'd be able to recognize yourself through them. And this requires spiritual insight, requires you to know thyself. And these are all questions that philosophers and scholars would ask themselves, into 2000 BC. In 2500 BC, actually, is when the concept of twin flames, the theory, arose from this Greek mythology that Plato referred to in the Symposium, which is one of his greatest works. Plato is one of my favorite philosophers. He's all about the metaphysics. He was really into love, the essence of love, music, and basically the way that humans experience their emotions and where they come from and how they inspire us to uh, ascend. And so in this symposium, he mentioned that there was a Greek mythology where at one point in time, human beings were connected as one. Okay. So the way to look at it is like a Siamese twins, right? Where they have, conjoined legs and arms. So this being that he's referring to in the symposium had four arms, four legs, shared organs, right? Um, and there is an image, artistic image of this you can find through a Google search or in the symposium itself. And the theory here is that Zeus, for whatever reason, decided that he wanted to teach these humans a lesson, and that lesson was to not take things for granted, right? These were all the lessons now come in from the twin flame journey, right? To not take one another for granted. So he condemned these conjoined twins, he separated them and condemned them over lifetime, that they would have to reunite and find themselves again. And once they reunited, that is the essence of the twin flame reunion. And oftentimes we say twin flame union or a sacred union, but really it is a reunion because it is not the first time these two have met. And one way I like to look at it is, you know, we we come into being, right, with recycled energy, with a soul, with remnants, with memories, with DNA, and all this is part of the twin flame journey. You are connected on a quantum level to this particular soul that was always one, but through the human experience is now split into two bodies, right? So even though this is the illusion of the 3D paradigm, even though there are two bodies and there's a physical separation, energetically, soulfully, you're not actually separate from this soul, because there's no space and time when it comes to the quantum mechanics. There's literally just one soul being experienced through different dimensions. So I could be here and she or he could be in a different part of the world, but we are still energetically, soulfully connected, right? We can't see it, but we can feel it. And basically, so Plato would say that when you come into contact with the other half of your soul, the experience is unparalleled. It's otherworldly. Okay, because imagine this. I actually have chills thinking about this right now. Imagine you're going about your life and you come across another Carlie, like it,
Yeah.
and but it's not Carlie, the female counterpart. It is the male counterpart, and for some reason, it doesn't matter that you never physically met them before. You recognize them energetically, right? The reason why this journey is difficult for many is because in order to recognize yourself in another, you have to first know who it is that you are. Because how
Mm-hmm.
yourself in another if you don't know who you are, right? So twins could potentially be passing one another, okay, like and not even know. Because if you don't have the awareness of self, of who you truly are, it's going to be more difficult to determine or have the discernment to know who your true twin flame is. So back to the origin. Basically, Plato said that love in of itself really was the experience of oneness in two bodies. That was love. Okay. And if you can take this concept and apply it to things that we love energetically in our life, okay, when you view a piece of art or you listen to a composition, okay, composition is here, the art is here, but you feel it in here. Okay, it just resonates. There's a physical separation, but in that moment, you're one, you're connected, there's resonance, right? And so that resonance is also experienced with humans. We tend to think that humans, for some reason, are separate than nature and art and music, but we are also energy, right? We're just a different physical expression. So when we awaken, we truly are, that resonance that we feel with music, with art, with movies, with anything also happens with another human being at different levels. There's a soulmate experience. There is a platonic twin experience also. Like this is something you mentioned, Carlie, how there's multiple twin flames, and there are, right? This is not just like the biological twin flame. This is more on an energetic level, and they all exist at different levels of frequencies, dimensions. But there is that one intimate twin flame, and when you come into union with the particular twin flame, when they pass away, if you were meant to continue mission work, whatever that is spiritually, when you reunite, it could be flipped. You could be the male now, and they're the
Mm.
doesn't matter, right? The whole point is that this is the gender is through the physical experience, but energetically, soulfully, you're still just one, experiencing God from two different perspectives. Okay, so that's the origin of twin flames. That is the essence of what the experience is like, and the reason why it feels so intense and there's just an undeniable sense of knowing is that when we experience God within our, not thinking about logically what God is, right? You can't logically explain God. You feel God. And where do you feel God? You feel God in your heart. You just notice knowing you're being guided, you're being led divinely. So when you meet this person, there's just this undeniable experience of, whoa, I remember you. Like I've missed you. I've loved you. You don't even fall in your twin flame. It's like the love just is a remembrance, just like enlightenment. Because enlightenment is a remembrance process. So when you experience that remembrance process with a person, it's an entirely different experience that you've ever had before.
Absolutely. Yeah, that
I hope
that
that,
was really good. That was really good. The way you did all of that and explained that is the first time somebody's just laid it out like that to me.
I hope it was clear,
Um,
Andrews, but I was trying to stay focused on just the idea that you're never separate from your twin flame, whether you realize it or not in the human experience. Even if you never experience an awakening, you and your twin flame are connected regardless. And the others that you
right, right. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for explaining that.
I definitely needed that.
Yeah. I know. I got my juice too. I'm just trying not to drink it because then I'll have to get up in the middle of the show.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're
Or
talking about. Well, go ahead.
that was the origin and essence. If you have any comments about that, any further questions, I'm more than happy to elaborate.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's hard for people to wrap their mind around the concept of multiple. Like it's like, oh no, that absolutely could not be. What do you mean? There's only one. And I do believe that for a lot of people, there is only one. But at this time, there are a lot of us here that chose for our soul to be split out into multiple because of, oh my God, I just got chills
Uh,
all over my body.
Look,
Woo!
I, I'm not lying to you. Look,
I'm not either. It's everywhere. And what I was saying about it was it's multiple because of the mission being as big as it is. Ooh, lots of chills.
and heat. But
Yeah.
that's so okay. So what you just shared, and this may be something that many overlook in their life, right? But everything is for a reason beneath the surface, and even something like goosebumps, that's soul resonance
Mm,
to what a twin flame, a glimpse of what a twin flame connection feels like. It's like, whoa, I'm getting resonance, right? Because it's energetic. So you got to look for these signs, these synchronicities when you are in the presence of this being who may have a soul connection with you that's deeper than just a friend or a soulmate, or there's a deeper significance to the connection.
absolutely. And like with me and you, I know we're soul family. I don't think we're twin flames, but we're definitely soul family. And that's why we have this deep resonance all the time when we talk. It's just chills on chills.
Yeah, we are on the same frequency, the same, and like you were saying, it could just be souls have met before, and we don't have the quantum entanglement, right? But we
Mhm.
a vibrational frequency, a soul signature that's around the same vibration. And when there's resonance, right, with anything, when there's resonance, right, there's alignment. And so our souls just happen to be in alignment, and that's something that we experience on our skin, through the epiphanies. But yeah, that's the experience. You, but
Yeah.
my actually, I'm getting a call. I think I have to move my car. Continue with the live. I'm going to be right back. I'll be right back.
Okay. So, what I wanted to talk about was when he's talking about having this soul resonance and the chills that are happening all over your body. I came into contact I've come into contact with many different twin flame connections, and I am a part of a soul that has been split out into many different people, and I know that it's because our mission is really big. One of those things that was soul resonance is sometimes synchronicities. So actually, always synchronicities, but it can be stuff that you're just like, what, like how? And I just met a twin that is a part. You haven't heard this story. I met a twin last year, um, who is actually bisexual, male, and him and I and he's African American. So he's an African American bisexual. If you can imagine how hard that would be in America.
Right.
Okay, so I meet this guy and he's just his light. I mean, he looks like his energy looks like me. Like we have pictures of us smiling and we're like this and we're just
Yeah.
like just the same energy. And I had just met him that night and I was in LA and we're hanging out and I'm looking at this kid and I'm like, um, what's your sign? And he's like, I'm a Capricorn. And I was like, me too. Pretty cool, right? Wow, cool. Let's sit down, let's talk. So as the night goes on, I'm watching him and I'm like, oh my God, this dude is just like me. Like everything about him. So I'm looking at him and I'm like, hey, and I said his name. I said, "How much you want to bet that you are a Aquarius moon?" And he's like, "How did you know that?" And I said, "Because I am an intuitive and something told me that you're an Aquarius moon." And he was like, wow. And we're like, wow, this is getting crazy, right? Like, this is wild. And so, like, another few hours goes by, and I'm not even kidding you. I'm sitting there staring at him, and we get up, and I'm like, Ricky, how much you want to bet that you're a Gemini rising? And he dropped to his knees and started bawling. Oh my God. And I was like, Ricky, you're me. And we just started bawling, jumping up and down, screaming, crying. And I was like, you're one of me. You're one of my twins. And like, we just could. And I was holding him for like an hour. He's just crying in my
It's
arms. And he's like, I've never experienced anything like this in my life.
amazing.
And
Amazing about that, Carly, is that when you can experience something so beautiful that it moves you to tears, right? Did you notice when you were experiencing that with him that there was literally no walls? There was
oh no.
complete vulnerability and no ego. The ego
Mhm.
completely, right?
Mhm.
And that is what we have to keep ourselves open to. Because the twin flame journey, what it does first and foremost, it challenges, triggers the ego, right? To the point where it no longer has a place in the saying of the truth. And
Mhm.
and when it does try to interfere with what is, it's so easy for us to spot it and say, yeah, that's my ego, right? So it's beautiful that you guys were able to just come to your knees, basically, and experience this beautiful revelation.
Mhm.
You guys were connected on a whole different level.
Well, what was wild too, and this is not like a controversial thing, but this is what was coming through me as I'm holding him and he's crying. It was downloading into me where I said, Ricky, thank you so much for choosing to take the hard role so I could experience one that was less hard. Not that my life hasn't had suffering, but I knew that being an African American bisexual man in America, that he for sure has had his level of judgment on him from his family, from people that he's known. I mean, his whole life has just been so hard. And I was like, Ricky, look at me. And now, when I say this, I'm literally saying this, take your ego out of it, look way high above. And I'm looking at him and I'm, Ricky, I am a beautiful white woman. My life has been more of a breeze because you chose to take the harder role. So I was just literally worshiping him for for being the one who sacrificed out of unconditional love to experience that for our soul. And granted, he's great. He's like a model, he's an actor, he, whatever, but his life leading up to that point has been really hard. And he never told me that. I knew it intuitively. I was telling him how his life had went, and I knew how his life had went from a young age all the way up to that point. It just was downloaded into me because it was me. And so I was receiving this memory of what it was like to live his life. And that is why I was just so incredibly worshiping him for taking that on. And when I'm worshiping him, I am worshiping myself.
Ah,
I've I've had one other experience with that while that's coming through, where I met another one of our twins with all my other twins last year, a whole different set of people. Ricky doesn't know any of these people. He never will. We haven't talked. That it was just the connection and that was it. And we never saw each other again. But this next time I'm, with all of my twins, including my partner now, but there was a few twins there, and one of them is a woman, and she's this tall blonde beautiful woman, and I literally looked at her, and I got down on my knees and I put my hands on her feet, and I was worshiping her energetically, and I didn't know why. I dropped and just started worshiping her, and I said, you are so beautiful that all I can do is just drop to my knees and worship you. And she said, Carlie, you are worshiping yourself.
whew.
Woo! I got chills again.
What it is too. It's like, you know, I mean, I can go into a whole session talking about, worship and how it's been so misconstrued, right? But
Mhm.
the beautiful thing about worship, when we, move it remove it from the religious context, right? What you did, okay? Just remove the word worship. What you did is you expressed your devotion to truth. You expressed your devotion to love, right? Your devotion to the the cosmic orchestration of how life is, right? And so when you can do that, you're just having reverence for yourself too. It's reverence for God. And I think
Yeah.
that's makes this mistake is that, like, I've experienced this, okay? And it was with the twin. Is you're moved to tears because it's a phenomenon that cannot be logically explained. Okay, it's like you're feeling it as it's happening, and you can't unsee it. You can't unfeel it. It's like you going down to your knees and worshiping this beauty, this divine beauty, not just any beauty, this divine beauty. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the words for it. You have to express it in some way. It becomes an art in of itself to express this.
Yeah.
Okay, and what I find so beautiful is that when you've awakened to this connection, this oneness, it's awakening to oneness. Okay, the way that you experience yourself is like a new light. It's a blessing. It's like you start to look at your skin differently. You start to everything feels illuminated because that's what awakening is, right? It's going from the mundane because of our lower density and how we are so consumed by the program life to the eyes of the divine, right? You start to see things illuminated as they actually are, right? Because you just realize, like, holy shit, like, I'm experiencing God. Like, I'm
Yeah.
God through this vessel, and I'm squandering it by worrying about bullshit, right? This is like the effect that happens after awakening. It's like, oh my god, I'm on cloud nine and I don't give a shit about anything. I am so happy right now. I don't have to even eat. I
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
feel my soul's fulfilled. Like, I just want to give love to, like, everybody. I'm like wake the fuck up and come on this ride with me, right?
Yeah.
And when I experienced this twin flame connection, it was like that. It was like like it's Carly. Like, I could imagine how you were because I'm like, this is what I did. I thought I was crazy. I, like take and like looking at, like, I'm like, oh my god, like it was crazy. Okay, but like everything, like I love the little details because you, like, literally have this newfound reverence and appreciation for the way that the divine created this being that was a reflection, a mirror of you. We're probably gonna still be looked at as crazy, but this is undeniable, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
that is self-evident. You don't have to, no one needs to validate anything. In fact, I want to take this another step further is that, and I just explained to somebody in a recent session, the way that you embody and express your true self, who you truly are, which is one of the most important takeaways from the twin flame journey and a spiritual awakening, is to return home to you, is to pay no mind to what others think about you, right? Because you are all of them. S-
Mm-hmm.
they are other conscious perspectives of God who have yet to awaken to the frequency that your particular vessel is on. Okay, because everyone's the one is on the same high frequency, but through the human experience we are lowered and we have to realign. Our bodies have to realign. It's not even ourselves because ourselves always in a higher plane, but the body, right, has to elevate to that frequency. That's why we have to eat the right foods and we have to exercise. Like, don't neglect the body because when we take care of our vessel, our temple, the essence that's in it can express itself more accurately. So, what I was telling this person was that the divine did not create car- God created you to be expressed. Those who resonate with your expression, that is alignment. Whatever
Yeah.
resonate with your expression will just Oh, as if they don't even exist. Not that they don't exist, but they just don't exist in your frequency.
They vibrate out.
They vibrate.
They can't exist. This is like with okay, this is like with the wars.
Yes.
Yes, we are in a video game like reality where in that video game there could be something going on a different level that you can't see because it's not in resonance with where you are at in your level and the lens that you're seeing at. So you can recognize that it's a part of the game, but you don't have to make it your reality,
Right. It doesn't mean
right?
it's not happening. Like the way I
Like,
like when I play a game and I'm in this particular aspect of the open world that I'm in. Okay, like a Grand Theft Auto, for example, right, or like an Elder Scrolls games where they're role playing. Like you're here, and yeah, there's stuff happening over there, but I don't see it. Not that it's not happening, but it's not
right.
in my space. Like
And another thing to say, so that way people don't think this is controversial about the wars, is you being concerned and low frequency and fearful about what's happening is not helping them.
right,
It's not helping that at all. The only thing you can do is stay aligned. That's what being a warrior is knowing that's going on. And you could let yourself go down that way and be in so much pain. Or you could be like, no, you know what? The only way that I can help them is through energy. And if my energy is where theirs is at, then I'm just adding to it. So and I have chills right now. I have to stay aligned with God if I want any type of change to happen with that
right,
frequency.
right, and it's a choice. You can either feed into fear, anger, resentment, all these negative emotions, or you can send compassion. You can send love. You can send forgiveness for the ignorance of humanity, right? And see it from a higher perspective, right?
Mm.
I want to get into also this evening, the key themes dating back to the origin of twin flames, why Zeus even separated, because the lesson that we're learning as human beings through the ego are the things that we take for granted here. Okay. And it begins with ourselves before we even have a relationship with somebody else. Okay. And unfortunately, this is what's happening in many relationships, whether it's between countries, between different ethnicities and nationalities and religions, and on a more micro level, between relationships. People take each other for granted. Okay? I just shared a reel recently on Instagram, Carly, that I sent you about. It was such a massive download. Like it was if I was seeing my life from the perspective of my nonna, my grandma, before she
Mhm.
passed, and I envisioned myself in in my very last moments. Like, what would I be thinking? What would I be feeling? Right? This is the way that God wants us to live our life, not just our last breaths. It's to live our life with this knowing and understanding of what is truly valuable. Because sooner we realize that, the more fulfilling of a life that we live. We truly live. We don't squander it by worrying about things that serve no purpose in the things that matter. So when I said in that reel where when my grandma was passing away, in her dying moments, she wasn't thinking about who did this for me, who loved me. No, there weren't even a thought. In that moment, God came in. It was like, okay, I'm taking over from here. And I want you to see what I see, what I feel. And she spoke as God spoke through her. And she said, I have never intentionally hurt anyone. If I hurt anyone, it was never my intent. And she was saying this because she was worried about passing over. Didn't know if she had committed. She was, Catholic. She didn't know she was committing in her life that may have, resulted in her passing over and not being where she wants to be. But she said something that was so important that we take for granted, even in relationships, Carly. And the reason I bring this up is because the wars can be looked at this way too. Because of a different opinion, because of a difference in belief, okay, that is not the reason that we should be harming one another, okay? On a macro level, it's violence. On a micro level, it's disputes and resentment. And so if we can understand that the divine expresses itself through each of us, the way you actually said this to me a long time ago in a comment, I'll never forget this. This is like one of the comments that stands out for me that you've sent me. And I've always referred to this when I try to explain to somebody, like, you see it your way because that's the way the divine is working through you. I never forget that you said it to me. That's
Mm.
Francesco, the divine works through you. Because I was explaining something about like how passionate I am and whatever. Like, that's how divine works through you. Your soul is passionate. That's how you do it. Others might not be. Is there anything wrong with that? No. That's divine is working that way through them. Right. So when it comes to my grandma, when she was saying that she didn't hurt anybody, that she has loved everyone deeply. Okay. She wasn't saying, who's here, who's here to see me pass away. Let them know that I wanted to be with them more. They should have called me more. No, they're all gone. All thoughts are gone. All that matters is, was I embodying love? The only
Yeah.
for her passing was I love, because she was coming face to face with truth, with God, and God is love. We are love. So every moment of your life that you are not living as love, you're not committed to love the way you were devoted to praising and worshiping and expressing love.
Mm.
Any moment that we live our life not doing that, we are creating karma, because we are creating the opposite of what's in service of. Okay. Anything that is not from love is taking, it's self serving. But when we are living out of love, everything is to give back. Right. And that was the last of my grandma. And it drilled into me that the only way for us to truly do this, which is the catalyst of our healing, catalyst to our ascension, and catalyst to union with our twin flame, is knowing how to truly forgive. Forgiveness is the pillar of unconditional love. And it doesn't mean that they deserve it. Okay. Doesn't mean that it invalidates what they've done to you. It means that you have chosen to see them through their ignorance. And if humanity could do that with the wars too, and under
Mm.
truly are that we're all connected, why would you want to kill yourself? Like, imagine if they all had twin flame perspectives. In
Yeah.
they wouldn't they'd be worshiping each other instead of killing each other.
Hmm.
But it requires us to see, feel, and reason through the mind of the divine. Over the past 6 months or so, leading into 2024, that was the biggest paradigm shift for me. Is, what would God see? What would God feel? What would God reason if we're all his children? Right? And when you experience your partner, even if you're not in a twin flame, what are you seeing? When you look at your beloved, what are you seeing? Are you seeing pain? Are you seeing uh, ignorance? Are you seeing a flawed human? Or are you seeing the divine through them? Because if you see them as divine, having a flawed human experience, then you can understand the intention behind or beneath the pain. That's what Jesus did. And this whole twin flame journey is to like see the way that the ascended masters did, which was, you're a criminal. Okay, let's talk about it. Now, I'm not judging you. Let's talk about why you did what you did. Talk.
Hmm.
And there are people. I'm gonna give you one example, and then I'll give you the floor, Carlie. There's one. Forget. She went to court because this young man killed her son. Okay, I get chills to think about this story. You want to know unconditional love? What it really looks like? This is why I have no tolerance anymore to this twin flame than true, pure, unconditional love and forgiveness. Because if you know your heart, you know your soul, you know the way that you are, no one intentionally means to hurt anybody. Okay? We are all in pain. We all are coming from trauma, and we're acting out of trauma, out of pain. It's nothing personal, right? The only way to heal that is to choose forgiveness. So this woman in court looks at this man, and he confesses that he did commit the crime. He killed her son. Okay. And her son was maybe like 13 years old, 14 years old. He is
Mm.
now 18. Instead of blasting him in court, like I still can't believe this. People were like, "Is she crazy?" No, she's not crazy. In that moment, she was God. She,
Mm.
she went to him and hugged him, hugged the killer. Like I can't, like,
Mm.
hugged the killer and said, "I forgive you, and I'm grateful for you because you got to see my son in his final moments before I did. You got to
Mm.
son, you know, and my son meant no harm to anyone, and I I forgive you for your ignorance, but know that my son loved you also." And he just broke down crying. The guy who
Mm. That gives me chills all over.
cried and said, "I'm so sorry for what I did. I don't know what came through me," and realized that his actions are not. You can never forget what he did. Okay, but when you remove your ego, attachment, stories. This is one of my favorite philosophies from Krishnamurti. Can you experience everyone with fresh eyes? Can I see you anew every day? Like we see the sky, the sun. Do we ever get tired of seeing the sun? No. It's always beautiful when we look at the sun. Everything is always in its pure state of being. We lose sight of it. So through forgiveness, we cleanse, we purify, we alchemize, we transmute, and we embody the pure form. Right? And so she was able to see him through all pain and the suffering and saw a tender heart, someone who needed love. So she gave him the message from her son that her son loved him, even though he killed her son. And
Mhm.
he was cleansed. And she would visit him, like, because he was the last line connection between, you know what I mean? They were actually, I think, friends, and he just killed him. So the moral of the story is that it's hard to do, and you don't have to choose forgiveness, but choosing forgiveness and understanding why.
We might have lost him. That was a really beautiful story, and I really appreciate him bringing that up because forgiveness has been a big thing for me in my life. I thank you guys for being here and for being a part of this. We will post this. This will be a replay. Next week, we will have another episode on Thursday at 7 MST. Thank you all, and I appreciate you for listening. Have a good night.